quiet town turns into a hotbed of gossip.
I had heard rumors that were just ridiculous.
These people, they get their information from crystal balls and Ouija boards.
Good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster.
Especially when you're talking about murder.
It was horrible. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Ossining, New York, just an hour from Manhattan. But it feels a world apart. Stroll down the street, and you may catch a glimpse of one of the community's most cherished residents, 55-year-old high school Spanish teacher, Pat Mery.
She taught for 30 years. She was the head of the language department. All the students and teachers just loved Pat because she was kind of a jokester, and she always had a great smile.
Hey, Pat.
She was very friendly with the neighbors. She would take some of the older women to church on Sunday.
She was first and foremost religious. Her relationship with God was probably one of the most important relationships in her life, next to her children.
And John, come on down.
Pat still has her hands full with her 2 grown kids. 22-year-old Anne is an aspiring artist.
Annie was known as more of a free spirit. She had an eclectic group of friends. Annie liked to experience life.
And John, 21, is a volunteer fireman.
John was a good kid. He spent a lot of time here at our house. We took him, on vacation. We took him down to Jersey Shore. He was just a great kid.
John was loved by his friends, loved by his teachers, in the community.
As for a husband, well, that ended in divorce long ago.
When Patricia and her husband got divorced, she kept a brave face. She kept it all together.
She worked full time and she raised her kids. And, it was not easy, but she was a great mother.
Jerome.
A little sibling rivalry aside, the Marys seem happy as can be. Who would have known? Life was about to take a tragic turn.
John had bought a new motorcycle. He had a permit at the time, and he was going to get his motorcycle license.
Please be careful.
I will.
He took the test, passed the test. Riding back, a car cut in front of him, and he couldn't stop and just hit the car broadside. We were all devastated over the loss of him, and you can't fix that. There's nothing anybody can do. It was just a tragic accident.
Heartbroken, Pat buries her only son.
He was her joy. I mean, he always looked out for his mother. And with him gone, she just felt, how could she go on?
John's funeral had to have been one of the most depressive funerals I'd ever went to.
To lose a child, no matter how old, is every parent's worst nightmare.
But I saw somebody who literally looks like their soul had been taken and ripped out of their body.
After John's death, Pat was, pretty devastated, pretty depressed, but she wanted to be there for her daughter, Annie. And she decided to retire because it was just too much. She wanted to, make sure nothing happened to her other child because, this is all she had left now.
Pat tries to comfort her daughter, but Anne deals with her grief in a different way.
Anne started to kind of pull away from her mom, and she started kind of hanging with a kind of a rough crowd.
It was quite immediate, the change in Annie. Annie was having a hard time with John's death.
As the months pass, Pat struggles to move beyond her grief, and Anne wonders when she'll get her mother back.
Annie would tell me that all Pat was doing was sitting around moping, crying. Pat's behavior was an instantaneous dive downwards.
Mom, you need to go to the store.
So far down, it's starting to give people the creeps.
And I heard Pat had a shrine to John, which would infuriate Annie. Then I hear that it's not Pat who's making this shrine, it's Annie who made this shrine, and she has totally lost it.
Whoever's displaying John's belongings, it doesn't sit well with the family.
I would see the bloody boots, right out in the open. The helmet was up on top of the refrigerator, and that was a little disturbing.
Did you hear me? I said you need to go to the store.
Yeah, Annie took it pretty hard,
Annie was going out more. Annie looked different. She dressed different. And she certainly had a different group of friends. People were worried.
Including her mother, Pat.
Anne had Pat very worried about her, actually, almost following her to the city because she was that concerned about her, because she was just running down a bad road.
People were saying all she cared was club going. Yes, she enjoyed her party. She had her fun, a little rebellion. But I had heard rumors that were just ridiculous.
She has lost it.
It's like, Annie was seriously on drugs and she was seriously losing her mind. To me, what I saw, that wasn't the case at all.
That rebellious streak takes Anne into the arms of professional boxer Ron, the Rottweiler, Kerner.
She met him down at one of the clubs. He was, a pretty big guy down there as far as everybody knew him.
Annie and myself had formed a kind of bond. So a little romance spouted here and there between her and I.
She kind of made a comment about him being mob connected. And she really liked that.
I had a reputation and a bad boy image.
That's the way it's gonna be, huh?
Yeah.
Even though her mother doesn't approve, Anne doesn't care. She's in love. Months later, there's even more grist for the rumor mill. Is Anne simply gaining weight? Or is she carrying a scandalous secret?
How would you have on? See what it looks like.
I don't think it's gonna fit.
Please try something on.
All right, I'll try.
But she can't hide from prying eyes.
She's totally pregnant.
Turns out, her friends are right.
The town had a lot to say about Annie's pregnancy. She had this behavior change, and she was keeping new company with Ron Kerner, and now she ended up pregnant. Not married, no explanation.
Yeah, there's no way it's fitting.
Are you sure?
Anne had told me that she had gotten pregnant.
But if Ron really is connected to the mob, he might not be an ideal father, so she lies about her child.
Annie called me about a week later and told me that she had gotten an abortion. And then Annie vanished out of my life, period.
Ron has no idea Anne's keeping the baby. And she stays tight-lipped around her family.
Hey, Anne, how you been?
She did not, give us any names as far as who the father was, but that he did not want anything to do with, the baby, and she was going to have the baby and never see this guy again.
But will this be the last time the Marys hear from Ron Kerner? For now, the family turns to the church for support.
People were concerned for Patricia. Annie being pregnant was just another blow for this family that they felt they would not be able to handle.
Well, we'll see you inside.
Yes, ma'am.
Pat relies on her faith, but Anne goes looking for meaning on a higher plane. She visits a psychic named Lisa Bruno, hoping to contact her dead brother John.
Don't be nervous, dear.
She was searching for something, some closure, and she wanted to speak with her brother. She wanted that connection.
There's someone behind you.
Is it my brother, John?
Anne is hoping the spirit of her brother will provide some sort of guidance during this trying time.
I'll see if I can contact him. He's here. Your brother's here, Anne.
What is he saying? Is there anything he wants to tell me?
The message from her brother John isn't comforting. It's terrifying.
It was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
After losing her son John in a motorcycle accident, Patricia Mery is quietly trying to put her life back together. Adding to Pat's heartache is her concern for her daughter Anne.
Don't be nervous, dear.
Annie sought the help of a psychic to try to make sense of a senseless situation.
Yes. Yes, your brother's watching over you. But honey, I see blood all around you.
Blood? Is it John's?
Can Lisa Bruno really talk to the dead?
I don't know.
Hard to say, but Anne desperately misses her brother and wants to hear more.
I've lost him.
Could there be more to Lisa's gory vision? Are the Marys about to be hit with another deadly tragedy?
I said, Annie, you can't believe what these people are telling you. But she insisted. And she believed these people so much that nobody else's opinion really mattered.
And you know what will help me connect better?
Lisa gives Anne some shocking homework. Find something from the scene of John's death. And not just some trinket. Lisa suggests they conduct their next session around John's motorcycle.
This is it.
John's presence is here.
What's going on?
Pat and Mike are horrified that Anne's brought John's bike back home.
I said, listen, I don't really care. This is not right. I mean, this is what my nephew was killed on. I'm not going to have this around.
This is sick.
Needed John's bike to get a better connection.
You can't do this,
No,
Anne.
we're just trying to talk to John.
Mike, wait.
No, Pat, enough is enough.
Despite her family's disapproval, Anne continues to seek psychic guidance from Lisa.
Come in.
And it comes with an added bonus, a desperately needed new friend.
And this is my daughter, Bianca.
Lisa Bruno introduced her to her daughter, Bianca.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Like that. Best of friends. Little too fast.
Oh, how far are you?
Oh, you hardly look her.
Oh, you just go.
She was friends with Bianca. She liked Lisa. They could tell her future. They can get in touch with her deceased brother, John. They walked on water in her eyes.
As Anne's due date approaches, Pat looks forward to being a grandmother. That spring, Ariana is born.
I'm gonna go see Grandma. Oh, no.
Ariana being born was just a godsend for my sister Pat. Not that anything could bring her own son back, but she was the joy of her life.
Over the years, the family finally seems happy and whole again. But it isn't long before Anne's friends, Psychic Lisa, and her daughter, Bianca, crash the party.
The Bruno family loved Anne and Ariana. But with Ariana, there was, as some would say, a sort of obsessiveness. They loved Ariana like she was their own daughter. And they made it known.
Yeah, it got to a point where Patricia felt that they were becoming a bad influence on her daughter, influencing her daughter in a negative way and influencing her granddaughter in ways that were not even known yet.
And that's not the only thing that has Pat concerned.
People had asked me, is it possible that her and Anne were, together? And I don't. It's possible.
Was there a lesbian connection? People wondered.
People also wondered about the Brunos' background.
The Bruno family lived one town over, and they definitely did have a reputation. It was said that the Bruno family allegedly may have some mob ties. There was speculation that they were a family that you didn't want to get tangled up with. People knew the Bruno family and to keep their distance.
Lisa had some criminal activity in her past, and there was rumors that they may have had some organized crime connections.
Pat doesn't like what she sees or hears. But for Anne's sake, she tries to be supportive.
Lisa asked my sister on several occasions for money to buy them a list of stuff that they needed, and they wanted Pat to pay for. And she did, just to keep the peace.
Can I ask you a favor?
This was her daughter's best friend. She knew that she had to get on board, and she did.
Before long, the requests grow and grow, and still, the Brunos aren't satisfied.
How much?
It was said that Lisa Bruno loved to gamble, almost as much as she loved telling fortunes. Her debt from gambling was very steep.
To cover her gambling debt, Lisa goes to Pat for yet another favor.
Hi, Pat.
Lisa asked Pat for a loan of, a large amount.
What?
And, Pat,
Lisa.
for one, did not have that type of money.
I can't help you.
And for two, the money she did have, she could not afford to loan to somebody who was a gambler.
When Patricia refused, that deepened the anger and resentment between the two families.
Not exactly the caliber of people Pat wants to share her little family with.
Patricia was pleading with her daughter to not spend so much time with this family, but Annie kept going over to what Patricia felt was the other side.
Speaking of the other side, On Halloween night 2005, there's a haunting development.
Mommy's gonna check some emails. Come here.
Anne was looking for any connection with her brother John, and she was desperate.
And it shows up in the strangest way. An instant message from her dead brother John. And that's not the only freaky part. Apparently, John has a warning.
John specifically warned Anne that Patricia was going to kidnap Ariana, and he suggested she get out and stay away from Patricia. He wanted her to cut all ties with their mom. As ridiculous as it was, Anne believed it all.
All right, Ariana, say goodbye to Nana.
And it was telling Anne, John could see it all from where he was. And Mom was bad.
We're leaving.
And your aunts and uncles are bad. So listen to me and I'll guide you.
What's going on?
You know what's going on.
Anne later tells Pat about John's messages. Her mother can't believe she's falling for what must obviously be a sick joke. But there's no getting through to her. And before long, Anne and Ariana move in with the Brunos.
Pat was devastated when Annie took the baby and moved in with these shady people, and doing it from John in heaven.
There was a huge decline in Patricia and Annie's relationship. It became a wedge in their relationship at a time where they should have been seeking solace in each other and strength from each other to get over John's death. They were becoming increasingly estranged.
As the months pass, the ominous messages from John keep coming, furthering the gap between Anne and Pat.
I just got a message from John.
He said my mom's gonna try to take Ariana soon.
No, it's gonna be okay. I'll protect you.
Before long, there's an even scarier development.
I went shopping, I took the truck. I felt the brake being a little spongy on the truck. I got to the end of the street and the pedal went right to the floor.
After Mike's brakes were cut, I mean, everybody wondered, who would do such a thing?
It's just such a crazy time.
Even more so when Pat experiences her own disturbing events.
That is so odd.
I heard that someone had broken in and moved some stuff around.
Oh, here they are.
She saw stuff that she sure was in one place. It was missing now. She didn't know who it was.
Are you okay? At this point, Patricia is telling people that her home's being broken into and things being moved around. The neighbors had to question, is Patricia losing it?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Those whispers turn to concern when, like her brother, Pat finds something wrong with her car.
That threw everybody because nobody knew why or how this possibly could have happened.
This was definitely sabotaged. This was definitely cut.
Pat believed that the Bruno family may have had something to do with the brake lines being cut.
Police find no evidence that the Brunos had anything to do with Pat's near-death experience, but the trouble doesn't stop there. But is it Anne who needs protection? Or could it be Pat? On Thursday, May 11th, Pat is nowhere to be seen at her regular 7:30 rosary meeting at church.
Pat was very religious, so when she didn't show up at her rosary meeting, people knew that something was very strange.
3 days pass and still no word. Pat's relatives are growing more and more concerned. So around noon on Mother's Day, Mike goes to check in on his sister.
Pounded for a while on the door, thinking maybe she was down in the basement doing laundry or in the bathroom, possibly in the shower. I was very worried.
Mike climbs through a window he knows is always open.
As I'm going through the house, thinking maybe she slipped and fell in the tub. She was not there.
Patricia.
I walked through the dining room, through the hallway, and when I turned into the living room, I saw my sister on the floor. It was horrible. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
The neighbors were in shock. They were worried. Was this killer still on the loose?
Mother's Day 2006. While families everywhere are celebrating their moms, Mike Mery has just discovered his sister Pat dead on the living room floor.
I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. It's almost like I'm dreaming. This is not happening because she's the sweetest woman in the world. Who would do something like this to a woman like that?
Detectives and crime scene techs begin to process the scene. Based on the condition of the body, it appears Pat has been dead for 3 days.
She was brutally beaten and stabbed. 24 stab wounds to her torso and facial area. It's a substantial amount of blood.
It's such overkill for multiple weapons, detectives wonder if there was more than one killer.
There was a baseball bat and a butcher knife. The knife were located in the living room area near the body.
Police collect blood samples, dust for prints, and find a hair, possibly left from the killer. And the most glaring clue lies in plain sight. A note that claims Pat and Mike hired someone to abduct Ariana. When they backed out of the deal, the kidnapper killed Pat. But is it the truth, or was it planted to throw police off the trail? While detectives look into the bizarre note, they follow every possible lead.
I mean, I swear I saw a gurney go in there.
Gurney?
Yeah.
Good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster. And neighbors got wind that Patricia was murdered and in her home. People were terrified.
After Patricia's body was found, the police, of course, began asking her neighbors, her friends, anybody in and around Austining who may have known her, questions about, who they thought could possibly do it. Nobody had a clue because Patricia Mery didn't have any known enemies. She was the police chief's daughter. She was a figure in town that was very much liked and respected. And for her to be slain was something that was just unbelievable to anybody who knew her and who lived in Austining.
And they were concerned did they have anything to be worried about? Was it a possible serial killer or burglar on the loose?
Because who could have killed Patricia Mery? This woman was a church-going woman, or she didn't have an enemy in the world that anybody could think of.
You ready for some lunch? How about some frozen yogurt?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The first person detectives want to talk to is her daughter, Anne.
Yeah. Sure. Give me a
Anne, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you.
What happened?
Your mother has been murdered.
Murdered?
Sorry.
It was a shock to Annie. Annie said that she couldn't believe it. She was torn apart. She said she and her mother were reconciling, and she had no idea who could have done it.
Anne explains that she and Bianca were out shopping.
We were all at the mall together.
Annie told us that they had left their house. They had made a couple of stops on the way, and then they went to the mall, and they were there with the baby.
And she has the proof to back it up.
Anne presented a ticket from the mall, which proved that she was in White Plains at the time of Pat's murder.
Annie was very helpful. She was very forthcoming. Annie wanted to catch this killer. She was providing information to us in order that she believed to help us find the killer.
The detective asks Anne if she knows anyone who might have a reason to kill her mom.
Ron Kerner.
Anne says he should speak to her ex, professional boxer Ron Kerner. Remember when Anne lied to Ron about keeping the baby? Well, now it may have come back to haunt her.
Anne was saying things about Ron as far as if he ever found out he had a child, he would kill me, the baby, and anybody around me. You know, he's definitely capable of doing these type of things.
According to Anne, Ron isn't just aggressive in the boxing ring.
And how dare she try to hide this child? Possibly he took it out on Pat, because maybe Pat was the one who kept it a secret from him.
So investigators take a field trip to question their newest person of
Can I
interest.
speak to you for a few moments?
The detective said to me that Patricia's been murdered. Annie had painted me out to be this wise guy, some kind of hitman. And I started thinking the eyes are pointing in my direction.
People wondered, was this payback?
The Mother's Day discovery of Pat Mery's body leaves police in Ossining, New York, chasing a whole bunch of rumors, starting with her daughter Anne's ex-boyfriend, Ron Kerner.
The detective asked me if I knew Patricia Mery. And I said, yeah.
Are you aware that she was murdered?
I got emotional.
No.
Because I remember how sweet she was. And she didn't deserve it.
And there are a lot of people that are already pointing the finger at you.
And I said, what are you talking about? And how could that be?
The detective then drops a bombshell on the boxer. Ron's a dad.
Maybe it's because she had your daughter and you didn't know about it. Now I'm like, what, I have a daughter?
To say he was shocked was an understatement. He hadn't spoken to Annie in years.
Where were you on Thursday?
At a fight.
Ron tells police he was at a boxing match at the time of the murder.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm beginning to get what's going on here. I'm getting accused of homicide. I better lawyer up.
Suit yourself.
Detectives turn their focus back to Pat's family, paying particular attention to her brother Mike.
Yeah, we used to get along pretty good.
Used to?
Turns out, the siblings had a falling out shortly before her death.
You know, I wasn't talking to Pat at the time, so they looked at me as far as Could he have possibly done it?
Patricia and Mike had a hard go of it the last year. They weren't on good terms.
Mike tells investigators their argument began over a mysterious visit from Child Protective Services. Anne was at her mom's when a social worker coincidentally stopped by.
Neglect? What are you talking about?
The Austin Police Department received the call that there was a possible child being abused.
Yes. What's going on?
She's from...
CPS found no evidence of neglect, but Anne was furious, convinced someone was trying to take Ariana from her and the Brunos.
May I ask who called you?
I can't give you that information.
Pat swore she had nothing to do with it. So Anne suspects Uncle Mike. After all, he's had a grudge against her ever since she started hanging out with the Brunos.
What the hell, Uncle Mike?
Annie cursed me up and down. I assured her I did not call Child Protective Services on her.
To Mike's surprise, Pat sided with Anne.
I said, Pat, look at who you're talking about. These people, they get their information from crystal balls and Ouija boards.
No one knows who called Child Protective Services, but if that call was designed to cause a rift between Patricia and her brother Mike, it was successful.
I don't want you anywhere near me or Ariana ever again. No.
Pat actually believed Annie over me, that Anne was so sure and so convinced that it was me that Pat believed her, and we stopped talking for that reason.
Mike's note.
Then what about the note found at the murder scene?
That's right.
We were going to kidnap the baby, and we were supposed to pay this person, and because we didn't pay him, he killed my sister. Of course, none of that was true.
Nobody was trying to kidnap Ariana.
It was clear the note was put there to throw off investigators and that it was a made-up false report.
Where were you on Thursday?
Besides, Mike Mery has an airtight alibi.
I was prom dress shopping with my daughter.
Police are quickly able to corroborate his account with witnesses.
So I was off the table as far as someone who could have possibly done this.
Mike tells police to check out psychic Lisa Bruno.
People wondered, was this payback for Lisa Bruno and her huge gambling debt? It was Patricia who said no to the loan that would have gotten Lisa out of trouble.
And if Lisa didn't do it herself, rumor has it she's tight with a lot of men who could.
If she was connected with the mob, she could order a hit on Pat.
Seems Lisa had the means and the motive.
Lisa wanted Pat's daughter, he wanted her money, he wanted her house, he wanted her granddaughter. So let's get rid of her.
A lot of issues pointed toward Lisa and her family as possibly being involved.
Lisa Bruno?
Yes, sir.
Detectives find Lisa right in her usual spot.
Where were you on Thursday, May the 11th?
Lisa claims she was gambling on the night in question.
Well, I was right here.
And as dubious as the psychic may
Was
seem,
there somebody here with you?
her alibi checks out. So Lisa didn't wield the knife or the bat. That doesn't mean her family wasn't somehow involved. The glare of suspicion quickly turns to Lisa's daughter, Bianca.
Family members of Pat said that Annie became very close with Bianca and that she had influence over Annie and Annie's decision-making.
Bianca, I really think, was attached to the baby, to Ariana. So she was a very likely suspect.
Bianca, I'm going to ask you again. Where were you?
Bianca
on
insists
Thursday?
she was at the mall with Anne and Ariana at the time of the murder.
Like I told you before.
For the longest time, Bianca stuck to her story. She was not gonna crack.
A check of surveillance footage confirms Bianca's alibi. Still, police believe she knows more than she's letting on.
She was very cocky. She remained a person who was on the radar of either being involved or knowing information of who was involved.
If she is the killer, it seems unlikely she worked alone.
Rumors were very loud at this point as to what the nature of the relationship was between Anne and Bianca. It felt like more than friendship. Bianca put up a good fight, but finally, she cracked.
Three months have passed since Pat Mery was found stabbed to death on her living room floor. With no arrest yet, there's talk that her daughter Anne and Anne's rumored lover Bianca may have blood on their hands.
Bianca was one of the people that we were looking seriously at, but she provided the detectives with an alibi.
I was at the mall with Anne and Ariana.
And it was verified that she was out shopping with the baby.
But there's something suspicious here. On a hunch, police take another look at surveillance tapes. Anne is nowhere to be found.
We were all at the mall together.
So was Bianca at the mall to help Anne fake an alibi? Investigators review her cell phone records. And what a tale they have to tell.
Police could tell where Anne's cell phone was during the time of the murder. Turns out they weren't together at the mall.
Bianca's cell phone was bouncing off of towers closer to the mall. Anne's cell phone was bouncing off of local towers close to Pat's house.
There goes their alibi.
Several hours later, Anne and Bianca talk again. This time, Bianca's cell was moving towards Pat's home.
Police brought Bianca back in, and they pressed her.
Bianca denies any involvement and claims she had no idea what Anne was doing at her mom's.
And you know nothing else.
Finally, she cracked.
There's something else. She said she had done something horrible to her mother.
Did Anne really murder her own mother? Police need more information to make an airtight case.
They couldn't just go on Bianca's say-so, so they were still gathering evidence.
That evidence includes the killer's blood on the murder weapon and a hair found on Pat's body. The results show a perfect match to Anne.
We were 100% sure that Annie was the person responsible for the murder of Patricia Mery.
You're under arrest.
I didn't do anything. I don't know why you guys are doing this.
On August 4th, 2006, Anne is arrested and charged with murder.
You're under arrest.
I don't know anything.
Bianca is later charged with hindering the prosecution and tampering with evidence. Anne claims she's innocent, but it doesn't take much for the prosecution to piece together what happened that fateful evening.
I'll see you soon.
On the night of May 11th, Bianca dropped Anne in her mother Patricia's home. Bianca then took Ariana and went to the mall, where she conveniently got a parking ticket so that they would have an alibi.
Hey, Mom.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, I just want to talk. No, I'm fine.
Are you sure everything's all right?
Just feel like we haven't had the chance to talk much recently.
Anne, are you sure everything's all right?
Yeah.
What's going on? What are you doing?
At that point, Anne beats her mother with a baseball bat. And stabs her over 20 times.
Two hours later, Bianca returned.
Anne came out of the house with a bag and got into Bianca's car. She could clearly see staining in the bag.
We have to get out of here. Okay.
And then Bianca took her to a place to get rid of the bloody clothes. Annie definitely got what she deserved. As far as Bianca goes, not even close.
Lisa's never charged in connection to Pat Mery's murder. As for all the gossip, police find no mob connection to the Brunos, but they do trace instant messages from John to a computer in the Bruno home. And what about that bizarre kidnapping note? Handwriting analysis proves it was Anne. Anne and Bianca no longer communicate, and no one knows if they were ever more than friends.
And she deserves the punishment for what she did. I feel bad for her because I know what she used to be.
And in the end, Ron gets custody of Ariana.
Ariana is my life, my princess. I will never let her forget that Patricia Mery was her grandmother and her guardian angel.
Mr. Smile, just the kind person she was. Pat was the sweetest woman. She devoted her whole life to these kids.